Doubt. All right, folks, back on the Bossman show. Friend of the show, Levell Sanders. Binghamton Bearcats doing really well. 5-4 in the America East. Out on Long Island right now, playing Stony Brook tomorrow night. Levell, my man, how have you been, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm blessed. I'm healthy. Family is healthy. Team is doing well. Can't ask for nothing more, man.
I hear that, man. I know you had a couple tough losses here recently, but it was 5-2, man, playing well in the American East play. Tell me about what was the key to you guys hot starting in American East play as you all getting better as a team, as you a lot of junior season on your roster, brother.
Yeah, I think it was everybody getting comfortable with each other. I think you know part of your non-conference schedule and why you put a non-conference schedule together is to prepare you for conference play. And so I thought it was the first year of a new system, how we want to play offense and defense. So the guys that were here had to get used to that. The new guys kind of had to get used to it also because they came from a different place. And so when you kind of put all those things together, it's going to take some. Of course, it's going to take some time. And I thought we had a chance to be good because we had some good players. I was telling everybody, who would listen, that just because of what we did in the past, I thought that we had a good enough team to be able to compete. I didn't put a win-loss total on anything, but I just thought that we had a good enough team to compete. And, that's what we're doing. Guys are really, really competing. And that's first and foremost. I always tell them, main thing for me is go out there and compete, and that's what you got to have. You got to be competitive. And we're doing that right now. And I think every coach that we play against, when we shake hands in that handshake line at the end of the game, they always say, "Listen, man, you're doing a great job. Your team is playing well. Keep it up, man. It's great how you guys turning this thing around, and that's all you can ask for."
No doubt. And how key was it to have actually workouts this year? Because 2020, 2021, not so much. So how key was having summer and fall before the game started in November to actually install your system, get reps together, and kind of build that bond that you want to have as you go through this year from hopefully through March here.
Right. So, we were able to start, I think I took over and I gave the guys, I think the guys had like 5 weeks to go home. And then we got back and it was, we were able to start working out in the spring. And we kind of laid our foundation. And for me, I think the first thing I told my athletic trainer was like, "Yo, listen, we got to make this thing hard, because that's what life is about. It's things are hard before they get easy." So I was like, we were waking up 6 a.m., working out every day. Of course, we had to take our time off or whatever, but we were working out, we were hitting the weights, we were conditioning. And then, like you said, we were able to kind of do a lot of skill work. And one of the things that we really did when we took over was, because we were here, right? We were assistant coaches. We kind of knew the players, right? And we didn't have to watch a whole bunch of game film. We knew what their strengths and weaknesses were. And so we just put a plan together to help these guys improve, and then kind of enhance things that they do well. And so those workouts that we had were vital. Without those workouts, man, we probably wouldn't be in the position we're in right now, because you always want to improve the guys you have, right? One of the ways that I think, become a better team is, of course, you have to have talent, but the guys that you have on your team, you have to actually help those guys get better. And I think that's what we did, with a lot of our guys. I mean, we had some guys, come back in tip-top shape. When we had our exit meetings with all of the players, one of the things we were talking to guys about was we didn't put all this work in the spring for you guys now to go home for this, 6 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever it was, and not do anything. Like, you guys got to come back and be ready to go, and I mean, I got to applaud the guys because, they did a really, really good job. We had one guy, center, who was overweight last year, had problems with his knees. Man, he came back in 5 weeks. I want to say he lost 35 pounds in 5 weeks. And he did all this without, he kind of did all this on his own. He was in North Carolina, living his life. He was he was in communication with the trainer, just talking to him about, food and all those kind of things. But he did everything on himself, on his own. And so, I applaud him for that. But yeah, those workouts that we had were big because it kind of set the tone to how we want to have our program run.
And I'll be real with you, Levell, like for me when I play ball, man, like when I was in Nashville, it's better when I was in Atlanta. Because I was just in Atlanta, I'm just doing my thing. When I'm getting pushed by my guys, man, a little bit different story for me. So I know how we can go home, be kind of like, I'm home. But when you with your boys, they're gonna push you and clown you if you don't. If you're puking and doing some gases, you're gonna work harder for sure.
Right. Nah, that's important. That team camaraderie and like I said, the competitiveness. Like you have to, even with your teammates, I think you have to compete, right? Like you got to compete and be a competitor. And when you're around, like you said, when you're around the guys and you're working out, like, if I see one of my teammates, he's benching this, like if I can't bench that, I want to get there and get past him, right? And so being around, your teammates and having them push you is big. And we're going to do the same thing this year. And now we kind of got the hang of everything, and we kind of have a foundation laid. Now we don't gotta lay as much of a foundation as we did last spring and in the summer, right? Because now we kind of have our foundation laid, and now we can start to build on that and get guys better and better and better.
And speaking of your non-league, Levell, I saw that you all play some quality opponents with different styles, man, to prepare you for the American East play, because it's very diverse of how guys attack you in the American East. We'll talk about seeing different styles early to prepare you what you see in your conference play right now.
Yeah, it's funny because we were talking about, like, I was talking to my athletic director, and he was talking about asking me, now that I've kind of went through it in terms of scheduling, like, what would you do differently? And I was telling him, nothing really. I think it's about what you just said. You got to try to schedule opponents that are going to help you in terms of style, how they play, similar to the teams in your league, right? Again, advantage for me is that I was in this league for 2 years, so I kind of knew how the old coaches played. We have some new coaches in the league, so you don't really know how they're going to play, but I knew what the old coaches were going to do, and so we went out and tried to schedule opponents, that play that kind of way. So again, it can help us, for going forward. And so I thought our non-conference schedule was really good. It really gave us something. We had some tough losses, some close losses. We play in Columbia, a team that we kind of play every year, and we were up 16 with 6 minutes left, and we lost that game. And everybody thought it was the end of the world. And I was just trying to explain to everybody, like, yo, this part of the process. You know what I'm saying? Like we've never played many games where we were up 16 and we had to execute and close out the game. And so that was a learning process for us. And again, I always say this, even for the coaches, because again, when you're preparing your team and you're doing a bunch of different situations, because we do a lot of situations in practice. We've never done a situation where we were up 15 and 5 minutes to go, and we need to, execute and run good offense and not turn the ball over. And, we've never did that. And so it was like, yo, these are now, right? It's a new experience. Like now these are the situations we have to even do in practice, because you got to be ready for everything when it comes. And so that was even a learning process for us. And so the non-conference schedule was big. And I think we have some teams that we have to return games to. But we want to put a nice non-conference schedule together.
No doubt, you kind of read my mind, Levell, talk about them close games, because you really can't duplicate it in practice. When you got another jersey on, referees on the crowds, how you really can know how the pressure really mounts or how you can really get through the pressure. Because, like I said, we can do it in practice all day long. 2 minutes in practice or whatever, it's the same as when you're out on the field or on the court, man. So I'm happy you got it early, because it's got tape, man, to teach about, hey, or doing this situation, let's run this play, or just maybe do some off this play. So now you can something to teach to going forward.
Yeah, and as you said, you really can't duplicate it in practice, like the pressure. But you can, like we have timeouts, and we say, like even last game, I don't know, we had a timeout with 7 minutes left in the game. I think we were +1, and we were like, listen, we've been here before, right? Like you can go back to that, and when they hear you say that, they can kind of go back to it and say, yeah, we've been there, we've done that. And of course, experience is the best teacher. Experience is the best teacher. And the more games, the more meaningful games you can play in. Like you're not playing meaningful games when you're getting blown by 20 points every game and you're 0-15, right? There are not a lot of meaningful games. But like right now, we're in the thick of it, right? We right there. I think we're in 4th place. We've lost our last two, but we've lost our last two. our last game we lost, 68-68. Referee called a foul with 0.4 seconds left, give the team 2 free throws, right? And we lose that way. And then prior to that, we lost against the defending champions who we had just beat 2 days before. And so we're not out there getting blown out. We're competitive in all our games. We fight into the end. And so these are the things that I think is going to help us. And again, this is a process. We're very early, in our process. We still have, we're not even a year deep in the process yet, right? And so we still got a ways to go. We can get much better, and we will. And I think we've grown from November 7th, I think was our first game, until now, right? February 1st. So if you look at us then to now, we're a total different team.
100%. But one guy's been constant for you has been Jacob Falco, man. Lead the team in scoring, making the game in multiple ways, being a willing passer as well, man. Let's talk about Jacob, man, his development for you guys, man.
Yeah, man. Jake he's been great. He 2 games ago, he had I think it's like 2 points, 4 points, something like that. And everybody were kind of like, hey, he had a bad game. I'm like, listen, this kid was playing at such a high level for like over a month. One of those games are bound to happen, right? But yeah, it's funny. Somebody called me about him today and was asking me about it, and I was like, listen, he's like an Energizer bunny. He never stops. I've never seen him. He's never asked for a sub to come out of the game. He plays on both sides of the ball. You're talking about a 2-way player. He's a guy that he's going to guard one of the best players on the other team. He's going to give you everything he has on both ends. His confidence is through the roof right now. He told 2 or 3 games ago, he told one of our coaches that this is the most fun he's ever had playing basketball. And I think, when you're having fun, when you love doing what you're doing, it shows. And, he's such a good player. He's so strong. He can get to the basket against anybody. And it's funny, when we signed him, a lot of people called us and was like, yo, that kid is good. We had a kid that used to go to Binghamton that played pickup ball with him, was like, yo, coach, that kid is nice, and we just lost to UMBC, and they were kind of recruiting him a little bit. And one of the coaches had asked my one of my assistant coaches, was like, yo, did you guys really think he was going to be that good? And he was like, listen, nobody know he was going to be this good, but one of the things he wanted to do was when we were recruiting him, he was talking about, he wanted to go to a situation where he's going to have the ball in his hands more. And, that's what we do. We put the ball in his hands and we want him to make plays. I try to tell these guys all the time, when I call your number, or if I call somebody's number, that doesn't mean that guy has to shoot the ball. That just means that guy has to be a playmaker for us, right? And that means he's making a play for himself. He's making a play for his teammates. I always just tell these dudes, just do what the defense tell you to do. If I penetrate to the hole and the defender steps up, my job is to dish the ball off, right? If I penetrate and nobody step up, my job is to go to the basket, get a layup. And so if you do what the defense tell you, like that happened to us last game. I know I'm going off a little bit, but
Are you good, brother? You good.
We played against UMBC, and we prepared, we had prepared for them to play a certain way defensively, and they played that way. And we were carving them up. First half, we had 12 assists. And before the half was over, they had already kind of got out of the way they wanted to play us, kind of pushing us to our left hand out, And so second half, we finished the game with 14 assists. And exactly, I said, listen, we got 12 assists in the first half, playing the way that we're supposed to play, doing what the defense is telling us. And I'm telling them this in the timeout. I said, yo, I love the way we playing right now. You know how we playing? We're playing exactly what I'm telling you how to do. Do what the defense tell you. That's it. Nothing more. Then when you try to go out on your own, and you got two guys on you and you want to shoot and you don't pass. Now you can't. You only get 2 assists in the second half, and then you lose the game. You know what I mean? So basketball is not complicated. And again, like you said, Jake is a willing passer, man. I think he won one of the top in assists in the league. He had a game this year where he had 28 points, 8 assists, against Albany. And so he's playing great, and we need him to continue to play at a high level, if we want to keep this thing going, because he's our leader right now.
Because when you're a willing passer, this is that you open up the defense, cause them to have conflict, make them choose. Do I want to take away your scoring, or do I want to take away your teammates scoring?
Right.
or you want to go to penetrating pitch, or you want to, do some things, get them in rotation. So, like, when you are a willing passer, so many things opens up for you.
Right. But you know as well as I do, is that scoring is the most high profile thing, right? That's what gets all of the accolades, the scoring. And so again, our job as coaches is try to get these guys to understand that you have to be a good teammate, right? And being a good teammate is putting yourself and your team in a position to win ball games. Now, we're not everybody goes out and watch the NBA. The college game and the NBA game is so different.
Amen.
Right? It's such a different game. You cannot compare the college game to the NBA game. And all of these guys, they go out and they watch these NBA players train and do all of the isolation stuff. And I try to explain to them, there's not a lot of isolation in college basketball because there's help side defense, right?
It's no illegal defense.
There's no illegal
defense. No, it's not. You can zone up people. It's not.
Right.
It's not illegal. You can zone up people in college ball.
And
so that's a big difference.
Right, and it's hard. So it's hard to just get an isolation against good basketball team, especially teams in our league. Teams in our league are pretty good, right? And so, our kind of, what we try to focus on offensively is creating a mismatch, or creating an advantage and just trying to keep that advantage throughout the play. So basically, as I said, if I call a play for Jake and say it's a ball screen, for example, and somebody comes and set a ball screen and Jake comes off the ball screen, and if Jake has two guys on him, now we have an advantage because somewhere somebody's open. So it's Jake's job, being a playmaker, to find that guy who's open. And that guy who's open, his job is to keep our advantage. So that means that if he gets the ball and somebody is not on him, he has to shoot the ball. If somebody is on him, closing him out, he has to drive the ball or pass the ball to the next guy who's open. So we want to create an advantage and just keep that advantage throughout our possession. And again, it's, we've been working on that all season because we do have some guys that want to catch and hold. And so we've been trying to, kind of get better at that all season.
Like you watch the Atlanta Hawks, we pretty much run one play. It's called four-way go. Where Trae Young comes on the right side of the court, gets you for a floater, a three, or a Capella dunk, or a weak side three, the Hunter or whoever's in that weak side three spot.
Right.
That's our offense. That's the Hawks offense. So like you said, you can't watch the NBA if you're college play because they said you can zone up. You can't zone the NBA. It's illegal defense. So I tell guys, be on your level. If you're good enough, you'll get there, but master the level you're at right now. Because if you do that, the sky does not lie. They'll find you.
Oh yeah, and then again, those doesn't matter what level you play at now. Like they find you. There's so much scouting and stuff going on. Everybody knows everybody. I have college coach. One of my college coaches is an NBA scout. One of my college roommate my freshman year he's an assistant coach with the Toronto Raptors. And so there's a lot of people out here that you're connected, and so if I got somebody that I think can play in the NBA, you better believe I'm gonna let those guys know. You know what I mean? And so, like you said, if you can play, they'll find you.
And something you mentioned about just doing the defense says, man, you kind of brought me back to an old memory of my old quarterback. Could not read man of zone like my man. Just read man of zone, brother. Read his man of zone defense, please. Don't throw me the ball. So you gave me a bad flash that Levell. Just read the defense when it gives you.
But JR, man, I mean, like it sounds so simple and it's such a hard thing because players, again, they want to do all of the step backs. They don't want to do the simple play. They don't want to make the simple play. They want to make the hard play. And I just try to explain to them, man, if you just do what the defense tell you, the game will be so much easier for us, But again, we have guys that we have to get better at that. And again, that's part of our jobs. That's what make the job exciting. And again, it's the process, and that's what we in right now. We're in the process. We still got a long way to go, but again, we're making progress while we're in this process,
And what's good, Levell? I was telling somebody this earlier today about somebody heavy on my show today, is that your team, like you said earlier in the interview, has gotten better since day one. Like when I watch the ESPN3, I see you all getting better. I see your team engaged on this. I look at the sidelines, see if guys are engaged, if they're powerful now playing. No, your team's engaged still on sidelines. Even in timeouts, they're engaged. Because I watch for that because if they're not paying attention to you in the timeout, they don't really care about the game. Their minds are aloof. So your guys, I'll tell you, if you look watch from afar, they're locked in on you and what you guys are doing out on the court. And I like they're together and connected right now for real.
Yeah, you know what? I talk about that a lot, man. I talk about because we have, we really have 13 players that can play, but in basketball, it's not realistic that 13 guys can't play. We only have 200 minutes in the game, right? And so, but I always try to explain to these guys that your time will come, right? And you're not going to be prepared when your time comes. If you're sulking, if you're pouting, if you're mad you didn't play, the best thing to do is to be engaged on the sideline, to continue to work out, continue to get shots up. Because again, when your time comes, you want to be prepared. You don't want to be ready. You want to be prepared for when the time comes. And the only way that happens if you stay locked in. And then the other thing is that we coach that. You know what I mean? Like we watch video. We watch video. We show them if they're not engaged. We say, like, look, we're not together. And so they understand that, right? And I talk about together. We say we got 1, 2, 3. We say let's get hot. It's kind of something that one of our players created last year. And so, but then we say 4, 5, 6. We say together, right? Because I truly believe, and I know that the only way we can do this is together. There's Jake gets a lot of the headlines because he's leading this. He at one point he was leading the league in scoring and blah blah blah. He gets a lot of headlines, but a lot of those headlines don't happen if guys are not setting screens for him, guys are not making shots, guys not helping him on defense, and so guys are not getting on the ball when he's open, and so that he's going to get the headlines. But I always try to explain to them that we are going to get the headlines when we win, and I think one of the biggest compliments a coach can get is that your team is together. It's funny. One guy sent me a message after we played Hartford. One guy that I know, we call him Uncle Jim. He sent me a message and he was telling me that one of the announcers were talking about the bench and how locked in the bench was, how engaged the bench was. And again, I think that's important because again, you can see people are paying attention to that, right? And so if that's something people are going to pay attention to, and again, we don't do it just because we know people are paying attention to it. We do it because we believe that that's what a team is supposed to look like, right? Like that's exactly what a team is supposed to look like.
And Levell, speaking of that, saying, for me, that's one of my regrets of my career of playing ball is that being on offense, you really didn't really care what defense did unless you want let's throw it down and get the ball back. I feel like football sometimes it gets too siloed to a degree where you're on offense, we don't care what you're on defense, let's get the ball back, or vice versa. Special teams, that kind of is the whole team of the guys who don't play. But offense defense are not really on the same accord as we should be sometimes because we're doing different things at different times. And basketball's all the time. Football, you got the drive. So I feel like playing football the way I did, man, I wish we could have had more connection on all sides of the ball. We'd be more one than we were as a team.
Yeah, and again, I can't speak on that because I didn't play football, but I kind of understand what you're saying. And yeah, it's totally different because, it's funny because a lot of times I feel like sometimes like, man, can we get it like a guy that's only gonna play offense, and then we got a guy that's only gonna play defense, right? Because you got some of these guys that are one dimensional, right? But that doesn't happen in basketball, and I think it's good because again, it makes everybody's responsible for everything, right? And when you are responsible for everything, you have to hold each other accountable. You got to be willing to be good teammates. You got to be locked in. As you said, you're not really locked into the defense, and like you said, unless it's a third down, you want to get the ball back. But unfortunately, basketball is not like that. You have to make sure on every possession, you're locked in because you have to not only play offense, but you got to come down in the same accord and play defense, right? And so it's not the same as football.
No doubt, man. But I'm happy for your team doing that for you, man. And another I like about your team is that you got multiple guys who can make threes. I love guys who can make 3-pointers. And, another thing called defensive conflict. What the guys who can shoot the 3-ball causing that they might want to collapse too hard because you can go right by them, get a dribble drive, get a easy dunk at the rim. They collapse too hard at you. So talk about having guys who can shoot the 3, helping you all inside as well, giving you easy baskets, easy dunks, easy layups there.
Yeah, I mean, when you got guys that can, I think basketball now is about creating space, right? And having great spacing on the floor. And I think the only way you're going to have great spacing is if you got guys that can shoot. Now, you can have great spacing if you got guys that can cut, that are good cutters. But the easiest way to have great spacing is to have guys that can shoot threes. And we do have some guys that are pretty good shooters. If I know, for example, Christian Hinkson, who when he first came to the team, we weren't really sure. He has a funky shot. But man, he's really, lighting it up. He's had some unbelievable games for us, some double games. He's had games where he's hit 3 or 4 threes. I think last game he scored 3 threes in the first half. And so, we got a guy, Tyler Bertram, who's been a little funk lately in terms of shooting the ball, but he, I think last game was 5 for 12 from 3. He can really get hot and light it up. We got Dan Petcash, who was a guy who we thought was going to be a big part of our team, but he messed his ankle up early in the year and then came back and then messed it up again. So he's been out, but he's back now, and so he's starting to get his rhythm back. I want to say he made 2 or 3 threes last game, and so yeah, we do have some guys that can make shots. How can make shots. So again, it makes it a lot easier, and it creates a lot more space. Because like you said, you put the defense in conflict. If I'm driving the ball and there's a guy in the corner that can shoot the 3, like, do I want to help with him or not? Like that's a decision you have to make. And again, depending on whatever kind of principles you have defensively, that's what the team does. But again, it just makes everything. It gives your playmakers a lot more space when you have guys that can shoot 3. Like think about what you was just talking about with Trae Young and the 4-way goal or whatever that play is. Again, because he's such a great playmaker, meaning that he can make plays for himself and his teammates. What's his name? Huerter
or Bogdanovich or Hunter in that
Bogdanovich, right? So you got these guys that space on the perimeter, and now it's like, all right, we gonna let Trae score 40 or 50, or we gonna put some defense there. Now we're gonna see if Bogdanovich can make a shot, right? So again, that's the conflict you put guys in when you got guys that can shoot the ball.
No doubt, man. And that's what I love about watching film on Synergy, because I play AAU ball, I stopped, I chose football, but I still have those days of playing ball in my head and watching on film, man. Like, I'm gonna say the Miami Heat are very interesting. They help off the strong side 3, which is very rare to me.
Right.
I wouldn't do that personally, but the Heat do that,
Right.
So when we play the Heat, we put our best shooter in the strong side 3. They still do it, but it's like I'd rather help off. I'd rather not do that. I'm staying on strong side 3. Force Trae to throw a lot to Capella, or throw it to the weak side 3 and hope he get there in rotation and close out hard and make it miss it. That's just me. But the Heat are the weird team that does that opposite way, which is would you do that?
We don't help with the strong side corner, but again, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, and there's a lot of coaches can be successful in a lot of different ways. My good friend works for the Heat, and so he interviews Eric Spoelstra a lot, and he has a lot of kind of interesting concepts that he talks about. But yeah, I mean, it just depends. I mean, I would help if the guy couldn't shoot, but again, if you're playing percentages and you think about it, like Capella is going to be 6 for 6 if you give him them lobs, right? And your best shooters are shooting 43%, 42%. So, you gotta, again, it's all about analytics right now. So you gotta kind of play the percentages. I know we do that a lot. Like, we're playing against a guy that, shooting 20%. We're not going to be, if he's in a flash screen, we're not going to be going over the flash screen, and we want to go under the flash screen and make him shoot it, right? And so, and then sometimes you get burned, right? You get burned when we never do that where we completely just leave a guy open, right? Because guys are college basketball players, everybody's going to be able to make a shot if they're wide open, right? And so, but you have those teams. I know, like when I played over in Europe, Europe, they're notorious over there for that. Like if you can't shoot, they're not even guarding you, which makes the court even smaller. Now you got, guys just clogging up the lane. But yeah, it just depends on what your philosophy is. That's all.
The last time Toronto gave John Collins the corner three, he hit he missed all of them. I was like, so teams not daring JC to shoot threes because he wants to shoot threes. They're in the shooter. He's taking them. I'm like, bro, drive, draw two, throw it to Gallo or Bogdanovich with the second unit, or let Big O behind Miller get a dunk.
But that's ego. That's the ego, right? And because you're daring me to shoot, I can shoot. But I try to tell my guys, like, we got guys on our team that are not knockdown shooters, right? And so some teams, when they play against us, they want to give them opportunities to take those shots. And I try to explain to our guys, all right, you miss one or two. Now it's time to start driving, right? And so if I'm penetrating and your man isn't help, and I kick the ball to you, like drive it. Or if I'm penetrating, your man isn't help, let's cut, right? Like let's not just stand there and take, 3-pointers, and now all of a sudden we're going to be 1 for 6, and now the team is going to be running back, because that's what they want. They want you to take 6 threes because you're not a 3-point shooter, right? And so, and again, probably college is a little bit more, you can control it a little bit more. John Collins is signed for $100 million. What's his name? John Collins?
Yes. 5 years, 125. Yes.
Right. He signed for $125 million. And so, and he can make some threes. And so, because he can make some, he's going to shoot a lot of them. And he's making $125 million. So what is Nate McMillan going to tell him?
Exactly. I just like to watch it. And I see the Lakers dared them shoot threes too. He did Sunday against the Lakers too, but we won the game, so it didn't really matter. But the Raptors like, okay, let's just dare you again. And
right.
I'm pretty sure the Suns
do it
too.
We going off the numbers. Can you do that consistently? No. The numbers say you can't do it consistently. And so when he makes those shots, you're gonna win games. When you miss those shots, you're probably gonna lose games. And again, there's gonna be some, you're gonna make them and you're gonna lose, and you're gonna miss them, and you're gonna win, right? There's gonna be some of those games also. But at the end of the day, when the season comes to an end and they're going to add up all the data, I'm pretty sure it's going to say, well, we want him to take that shot,
I wish he'd been in the post more. But Capella claws up the middle. That's where the fit with Capella is tricky, because he really can't be down low, because Hawks going to be 4 out going in. So he's going to be on the wing, on the weak side wing, most likely, so he can get to the dunker spot if Capella gets the ball or it's doubled, so he's in the dunker spot. So it's like,
I'm telling you, man, I coached a team overseas. We finished the regular season in 2nd place, and playoffs started. We were playing against the 5th place team, the 7th place team. And we had our stretch 4 kid who went to Notre Dame. He got injured. He messed up his meniscus, so he ended up leaving. He was our only big man that can shoot. We had 4 big guys. He was the only one who could shoot. So we have 3 big guys left, and none of them could shoot. And 2 of them had to be on the court at all times. Then we had 2 point guards that couldn't shoot. So we had 5 players on our team that couldn't shoot, and we had 3 players who could shoot. 4 players. We had 9 players. 4 players who could shoot. Do you know that 5-game series went to 5 games, and we had beat that team 4 times during the year? What they were doing, they shrunk the floor. We lost the first game at home, and all of a sudden everybody was nervous because they dared us to shoot. Our 2 point guards went 2 for like 22 the first game, because it was like they daring me to shoot, so I'm gonna shoot it. And now, as a coach, you got to figure out, damn, how I'm going to help this team, right? And we had to do? We had to start cutting. We had to start cutting because we couldn't just stand out on the court and shoot. Those guys that couldn't shoot, they had to become screeners, right? Because after every game, I would go and I would try to figure out how to, because when we played that game and we had a certain way we wanted to play, the next game that coach was prepared for it. So we had to figure out, we had to make some adjustments in terms of, all right, so I think maybe they're going to do this. So we had to do that, right? And that's what playoffs is about. You play a team, you got to beat it. You play a team 5 times, you got to beat them 3 times. Or you play a team 7 times, you got to beat them 4 times. it's all about adjustments. That's the one thing that about college basketball that's so different is that
one good day.
yeah, but also there's not a lot of adjustments that happen
Oh
in the
no.
college game. Like we honestly we kind of do things in 4-minute increments, and like so every 4 minutes you got a kind of a media timeout, right? And so we'll do something for 4 minutes, and if it's working, we can stay with it. If it's not working, we'll go to something else, right? And so we're kind of constantly making adjustments in the game, depending on what's working and what's not working, But I find that a lot of college coaches just kind of stick with one thing,
Yes.
And then that's kind of it's different compared to the pro game.
Yeah, if plan A does not work, we're screwed. There's not many counters off plan A, which I'm like, it blows my mind to Levell watching it because I guess we've been watching the NBA as long as I have for the last 12 years, being in it as my job. Like I'm used to seeing adjustments being made. I'm used to having plan A, B, C, and D.
Right.
But college
Right.
game, obviously, if it's not plan A's day, it's not working.
Right. And the other part about that too is that, like, I know from experience now that, especially with college players, you have to kind of go through everything. And so if you haven't taught that, it's going to be hard for those guys to in game adjust to it. Right. And so, like I was telling you, like, we have certain guys on our team that have some weaknesses. Right. And a lot of times teams want to push them to those weaknesses. And so we had to, kind of, because it just started happening in conference play. And so we said, oh, okay, this is happening to us. And now we got to go back and we have to kind of, have some breakdown sessions on when teams play us this way, we got to do this, because when it was happening in the game on the fly, we weren't able to adjust to it. Like the players themselves weren't able to adjust to it. So for example, if I'm a left-handed player and I want to go left, if a team push me to my right, like what am I going to do? When you get pushed to your weakness, you become uncomfortable, right? You become insecure. Now you don't want to like drive right. You just now you want to get rid of the ball, but you are our best player. We need you to be our playmaker, right? And so we had to figure out ways to, like, all right, when somebody does this is what we got to do. And the next thing is like ball screen coverages. It's like we have to go over every ball screen coverage, right? Like we have to, if a team plays this way or that way, we got to go through all of those coverages because we gotta explain to the guys, like, when we play our sets and they do this, now you got to do this, because really, man, I mean, and again, that, like, me coming from coaching professional is so different because, again, a lot of times guys have a lot of game experience and they can adjust to that by themselves, But at the college game, and again, I'm talking about where I'm coaching at. I don't know about what happens at Kentucky or Duke, but where I'm coaching now in Binghamton in our league, like, we have to go through everything because if we don't, and somebody does that to us, we're going to be screwed, And so we leave no stones unturned. We go through we do ball screen breakdown stuff all the time because, we want to explain to these guys, like, when this happens, you got to do this. So they're not crippled when that happened to them in the game. Right. And so we go into the game pretty much ready for any kind of coverage because we've went through that week after week after week.
No doubt. Like I say, the Hawks used to be out here 15 or 14, 13, hard heads drop, you hear stunt. So like, you hear dig. So like, I know they have about 14 different coverages of each game, minimum. They can call. It is like simple 15, which you know what that means, and 13 and 14 or whatever, or dub or dig. So like, it's like,
and so it's, for us, it's kind of similar. Like, we don't guard everybody the same way, right? Like, so, and this is what we always try to explain to our guys, that we have to be locked in because, again, this 4 minutes, this didn't work. And so when we have that timeout, we change it right in the huddle. Yo, that's not working. So we're going to play it like this. We're going to do this. With 14, we're going to play him this way. With 13, we're going to play him this way, right? And you have to be locked in and ready. So when you talk about you looking at our huddles and the guys are engaged in our huddles. Yeah, because they have to know, like when you go in the game, you got to know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, you're coming out. And so you can't help us now. And now you're not going to play. And everybody wants to play, right? And so you have to be locked in because, as I'm saying, we're going to play still different than we play, Sanders, right? They're two different players. You can't play everybody the same way, right? Like if this person is screening, we're going to play. If he's screening, we're going to play it this way. If this guy is screening, we're going to play it this way. So again, you have to be locked in. And again, you have to do that if you want to be successful. Again, when you kind of make it easy for them and you say, oh, you know what, they don't understand. We're only going to do it this way. It's not going to be successful. It could be, but for us, it's not. We're not successful that way. We have to tailor make things towards different players. You know what I mean? And
most definitely.
And again, that's the part about being. That's what I'm saying. That's the part about being locked in. And guys have to be locked in because if they're not, then you get lost in the sauce.
No doubt, and that's why I said I love watching your guys because I know you're throwing a lot at them. Because I knew you came from a pro game, but you're doing it in a teachable way. Right. Some guys in college came from the pros are doing it in a non-teachable way. Like they're running NBA concepts with college kids who can't understand it.
Right, and that's the thing, JR, because a lot of times, as players, and especially if you were a good player, a lot of times a good player was just doing things, and didn't know how he was doing it, right? And so now, can you go and teach that? Because you don't even know how you did it. It was like natural for you. And that's what I learned early on, like knowing something and being able to teach something is two totally different things. You know what I mean? Like as a point guard, there's probably not a lot of point guards that can teach big men, how to make this move or make that move, And I know for me, later on in my career, I started to post up a lot because I was slower, right? I wasn't as athletic, but I was bigger than a lot of point guards. So I started to post up a lot. So I know what the post stuff looks like because all of the footwork stuff is the same as a guard. You're just doing it on a different part of the floor, right? But it's totally different to like I said, to know something and then how you're going to teach that thing, right? And again, I think at this level, again, I'm speaking about the level that I'm coaching on. The devil is in the details. You have to be detail oriented. You cannot just expect that these guys are going to go and know something.
Definitely.
You can't do that. Again, you have to get, and I like to spend a lot of time on my team. In terms of scouting, we don't do a whole bunch of knowing what every set they're going to play. I think that's counterproductive. That's just my philosophy. So we spend more time on ourselves. We do spend time on personnel and knowing players and what players do, right? Because I believe players win games, not like plays. Plays don't win the game, right? The player is actually going to go out. So you need to know if you're guarding Levell likes to go to his left 80% of the time. So if he got the ball, he's going left. So that first step, you should be able to cut him off, right? And so that's what's important for us. It's not really important if we play Stony Brook tomorrow. It's not important if Stony Brook is going to play 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 head shorts. That's not important, right? Because we know when this player has the ball, what this player wants to do. And that's what's important for us. And so I think when a lot of coaches spend a lot of time on other teams and they get away from helping their team be good. We want to focus most of our time on what Binghamton needs to do to get better and not what Stony Brook needs to do or not what Vermont needs to do or not what Hartford needs to do, right? Like we don't really want to focus our time on that. The more we can focus on us, I think the better we can be.
And Levell, what's I want to tell you, this brother, one thing I also know about you too, man, your demeanor and delivery. See, you can coach a guy if you deliver it with the right demeanor. You're not trying to embarrass a kid, which is some coaches want to cuss them up and down, demean the young man, and make them transfer out of the program. Your demeanor is something that how a kid will buy into you and work harder for you because you're not trying to embarrass, make them feel like they're nothing. So right, you try to build your kids up, not bring them down. That's another thing I want to tell the listeners here about you as well, because I watch you on the sidelines. I see how you do it. You are teaching. You're teaching to help, not teaching to hurt or demean or bring down a young man?
Yeah, I mean, I've been there, right? Like I've been on the sidelines. I know. Again, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. I think at the end of the day, you have to be who you are. This is who I am, right? I can't go out there and be somebody else. I have to be who Levell is. And who I am is, again, I always tell these guys, I don't have to MF you and I don't have to do all of this. I'm going to tell you the truth, right? And I think the truth can be delivered in a soft way. The truth can be delivered, cursing or whatever it is, but I deliver it the way that I feel comfortable delivering it. And when you tell guys the truth, I think, because everybody wants to hear it at the end of the day, like I'm not here for telling you what you want to hear. I'm here for, when we take these guys, I said, one of the first things we always talk about when we take these guys from their parents and their families, we want to make them better than when we got them. And the only way I can do that, or the only way we can do that, is by being truthful and being honest, right? And the delivery is just, again, it's my personality, right? Like, again, you got some guys that are more fiery. And again, I get a lot of compliments on, my demeanor on the sidelines. And again, it's funny, man. One of the first, when the AD was, when he called me in to his office and we were talking, when he was asking me if I wanted to, be the interim head coach. One of the first things he asked me was about my sideline demeanor. I was surprised that he asked me about that. But that was one of the first things he asked me. And I remember being overseas and my general manager and my president overseas, they wanted me to be like one of those guys that were yelling and screaming and, because, they have a lot of the Serbian coaches and the Croatian coaches overseas, man, they're real fiery and they yell a lot and they hit players, and
wow.
Yeah. And so I was always trying to explain to those guys that, I can't be somebody else. I got to be who I am, and now that I'm over here, again, the same thing that they were telling me I needed to change is the same thing that I'm getting praised for here, and so I think that just goes back to, you have to be who you are, right? And when
100%.
it's easy to be somebody else, and you can do that for a little while, but at the end of the day, your true colors are going to come out. And so for me, I'm more comfortable being who I am and not trying to be who somebody want me to be.
No doubt. Well, Levell, thank you for your time tonight, man. Cause I know it's a game, but day for a game since the time with me, man. But I definitely want to have you on the show again so people hear about your story, man, because you are a good dude, man. You're doing good things for your team. And I want people to hear about your team, what you're doing, because I'm watching from afar. And I'm cheering like hell for you, man. And I know listeners are as well. They enjoyed our last chat we had this summer, man. I wanted to get you back on. And if you know about what you're doing with the Bearcats and Binghamton, man, the Green's doing good up there, my brother.
Yeah, man. Listen, I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on. It's again, I remember when you first reached out and we got on, I was in the office, it was like first couple of days in the office, and here I am now in a hotel, getting ready to play a game tomorrow, so come a long way, still a long ways to go, but again, we building something here. We doing it with hard work, and that's the only way we know how to do it. So again, man, definitely appreciate you for having me on your platform. It's much appreciated.
Anytime, brother, folks. That's Levell Sanders on the Bossman Show. Binghamton Bearcats. Cheer them on tomorrow night against Stony Brook.